wanted to talk to you a little bit about your career, sports broadcasting and reporting, kind of where you started. What got you going in this field, and what was that moment that you first said, hey, this is something that I want to do growing up?
Well, it really dates back to college, for the radio station we worked at, 90.3 WRIU FM in Kingston, Rhode Island. I was a sports director there for 3 years, and I covered many teams ranging from women's ice hockey all the way to the men's basketball program. And I think it was 2017, I think it was, where they traveled all the way out to Sacramento, California. And they beat Creighton in the first round, and then they went down to the wire very last second against Oregon, which a game they could have won, and it still haunts me in my nightmares, for sure. I think it does for a lot of Rhodey fans. But I think it was when I was out all the way on the other side of the country covering basketball, I was like, this is a career I definitely want to continue to pursue, and I want to, I want to be, a sports broadcaster or just in general, I want to work in sports. So I think that was the moment I really fell in love with this career choice, that I'm currently on.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's interesting, too, because I feel like a lot of people in this field have that click, if you will, a little bit earlier. Yours actually happened when you were already working in the field. What made you make the decision then to pursue working at the radio station, WRIU, and just practicing and doing these things, kind of, it's a club. It was a club for everyone. What made you decide to do that?
Well, I wanted to do radio then, and I've kind of switched a little gears here from now. But I mean, it's still a career I would like to explore eventually, maybe. But I wanted to get into radio because as a kid growing up, I love listening to the sports talk radio. Particularly in the area in New England, it's 98.5, the sports hub, and before then it was WEEI. Growing up and really listening to those radio, programs and seeing what they got to do every day, I was like, that's something I really want to do. And, I think, and, that's what I wanted to explore. So when I got to college, and even before then at Accept the Students Day, I found WRIU, I found their booth. I talked to my former boss, his name was Tom Porter. I think you've met him, Jack, once or twice.
Oh, of course.
But, yeah, I mean, like, who could forget him? But I saw him, I got to talking with him, and then I really started to get involved with the radio station as a freshman, calling all these games, doing all that. So I've always had a love, for sports radio, and I think that really clicked into, pursuing the career that I have right now.
Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. So now we'll lead us right into that. You're working with NBC Sports Boston, doing a lot of content production for them there. Just talk about your responsibilities, what involves your day-to-day work there.
So essentially, in a normal day for my job, I'm basically taking footage from a multitude of broadcasts. It could be from, their flagship program, the Boston Celtics, all the way up to the West Coast when the Oakland Athletics are playing against, the Los Angeles Angels. And I'm taking footage from those games and I'm putting together, 45 seconds to a minute highlights for their original programming or for their sports programming, which it kind of differs. So their main program is the Boston Celtics, but they also do Patriot stuff too every Sunday. So, for those programs, which is like pre and post, and then for their original programming, which is early edition, and for Boston Sports Tonight. A lot of the work that you see on the TV, I'm not going to take all the credit for it, obviously, but if you see a highlight on any of those shows, chances are I had a hand in making it. So essentially, that's what I do on a day-to-day basis, and it keeps things interesting because it could be a different highlight every day. It could be a Jarrett Stidham preseason B-roll for one day, or it could be a highlight from a Rangers game,
right?
For example.
Yeah.
So yeah, it definitely keeps things interesting, and it's definitely a good start for the sports career, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And I think that one of the craziest things about that type of job is how fast-paced it can be. I've seen it firsthand in the newsroom, how quickly you have to kind of pump those highlights out, especially if you're in a tight window. Is there ever a time where you're like, oh my goodness, you're rushed and doing things like that? Is that a challenge for you, or do you find that more exciting?
Jack, I think that's every single day when you're on the job. It's always about meeting deadlines, and there's always that kind of like anxiety factor to it. Now, that's not to say to deter it from anyone who wants to pursue it, but I think it's a job where you have to be on your toes and you have to think, creatively at the same time. And I think, if you can juggle those two things, I think it's a worthwhile career, to pursue. But oh my God, yeah, the stress levels when you're working is always off the charts, it seems like.
Yeah, I can imagine, day in and day out going through that. But that's kind of what makes it fun, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You also work with North Andover camp. Now, not everyone in the audience today is going to understand what that is. If you would like, break it down for them a little bit. I know you do a ton of reporting on the community there. What goes into your position with North Andover camp?
Yeah, exactly. So North Andover CAM stands for North Andover Community Access and Media. It's basically the town's public access TV station. So I got involved there right after I graduated from college because I needed more experience, to really break into the sports media, the sports media industry or the media industry in general. And I kind of fell into it at the right time because, for North Andover, Massachusetts, which is a town of about 30,000 people, they have a really successful athletic program that is run by a great athletic department there. And, the first year I started working there, I just was, their go-to sports reporter. So if there was a sports game or a sports event, I was most likely there. And I really looked into it because they had a varsity football team that went all the way to the Massachusetts Division II Super Bowl, and they won it. And it was like the first time they had won it in like 30 years, and I was on the field at Gillette Stadium, covering the game. So I guess I can go into more of like my responsibilities, but everything you see, me do at North Andover Camp it's actually me. It's not done by someone else. So I'm, shooting the games, with a camera. I'm going and I'm interviewing players and coaches, and then I'm doing stand-ups at the end of it. And then after all that is recorded, I edit all the footage together, and then I put together either a highlight package or I put together like a standard sports story package, like a news package. And it really is a great way, to share what's going on in the North Andover sports community, with a wide variety of people. And it's just been really cool, working, side by side with the athletic programs that I grew up with, and ultimately giving a spotlight, for, players and coaches to, just be on TV, which is a really cool thing for some of them. Hell, I wish I was on, a public access TV station when I was in high school. That would have been the best thing ever. And,
right.
Giving them that, yeah, exactly. Giving them that platform and spotlight really has been a worthwhile experience.
Absolutely. It goes both ways, right? You're not only able to gain valuable experience, but you're giving back to those around you, the parents, the community members who want to learn more about the athletic programs, while also giving the platform for those participating, the coaches, the athletes, and everyone involved. That's really awesome, man. I've always, I've been following along you doing that, and I think it's really cool to be involved, in your hometown's community in such a mass-produced way, if you will. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. It definitely has been an interesting experience because I think I've sort of become like a more public figure in town, which is something that is always cool, even if it's like a smallish town or whatnot. But and over the years, I've built up a lot of relationships, with the people in the athletics, whether that's the coaches themselves or the athletic director. Just building those relationships has been great, and it's cool because say if I need like a reference in the future, or say if I need something, a favor of some sort, I know I've already worked up enough goodwill with them, that they can help me out. And that's awesome to kind of have it in your back pocket.
Yeah, absolutely. That is incredible. I wanted to ask you, Murray, from all that you covered, and you might have already touched on this game. I know you mentioned the Creighton game. What has been the best tournament game, anything that you've covered in the sports media world, whether it's you cutting highlights or you being courtside?
I'm going to cheat a little, and I'm going to give you two answers. I'm going to go graduation, then
sure.
post-graduation. Pre-graduation, I think it was the 2017 Atlantic 10 tournament when URI beat VCU in the finals, and they dropped the balloons and confetti. And, just seeing that program and really being there from the start of it, from that season, and seeing, all the hard work paying off, I think was just so cool to be there covering, in person, and that whole experience and whatnot. And then post-graduation, I think it would be, that football, game, the Super Bowl that I covered now a year and a half ago now. And, being on the field at Gillette Stadium, which is a field, where the Patriots have played, my entire life basically, and, where Tom Brady has once stood, where all the greats have stood, just being on the field there and, covering a win itself, that was definitely a worthwhile experience and definitely my favorite since graduating.
Yeah, that's awesome just to be there, where the greats have stepped. It's a storybook kind of feeling. I need some Sam Murray hot takes. I've been going a long time without a Sam Murray hot take. I want to shift our attention to the NBA. I want to shift our attention to your Boston Celtics. They're in a situation where they're competing right now. They have a rising stud who continues to grow every day in Jason Tatum. What do the Celtics need to do, Murray, to get to the NBA Finals this season?
I mean, I guess this is a hot take because why fix what's not broken? But they still need, a serviceable big man, kind of like a Joel Embiid, or like what Al Horford was before he just turned into Father Time this year. It seemed like, they need a player like that who can guard the bigs down low, because I think Tice does a good job of it, Daniel Tice. But he gets called for every foul under the sun, it seems like, and he's always, always in that kind of foul trouble range. But they need a big man who can still, play the perimeter type of post, that area, but, someone who can actually go toe-to-toe with the bigs and be like a true modern-day NBA center, because I think Tice is nice, but he's not really a full center, in my opinion.
Yeah, I said the same thing actually last show, that they're missing a big man, and not just any big man. They need a star. They need somebody to go head-to-head with the Giannis's of the world, the Anthony Davises of the world, because those guys that they have right now are not going to cut it. I'm in the same boat with you. The Gordon Hayward injury, does that put them back a little bit, or do you think their result this season, whether that's the Eastern Conference Finals, whether that's the semifinals, whatever it might be, is that result directly affected because Gordon Hayward got hurt?
I would say yes, and I'll kind of list their path to the NBA Finals as a tier. They don't need Gordon Hayward for the series, as we clearly saw in Game 2. They probably and should use, or should have used Gordon Hayward for the Raptors series, because I think that he's kind of like a nightmare matchup for that team, because he's a big player who can also control the offense, which I think Toronto, especially with Kyle Lowry as a point, and you can have Gordon Hayward facilitate there. That's a mismatch, and they're definitely going to need him for the Bucks series. Presuming Milwaukee obviously advances past Miami, but I think in order to win an NBA title, and a lot of people around here are saying, "Oh, we don't need Gordon Hayward. Like, this team is already good enough. Like, Hayward has missed so many games." Hayward, in my opinion, for this roster right here, is the piece that is missing for them to win or, compete for an NBA final. Without Hayward, I think that dream is kind of done.
Yeah, I think this year, without him and without a big man especially, I don't think that they have a chance. Maybe Eastern Conference Finals if they're lucky, but it's going to be a bumpy road for them, I think. Do you have an NBA Finals prediction?
I went into this postseason thinking that it was going to be the Bucks and the Clippers. I'm still going to pick the Bucks coming out of the East, just because I think this is the year where Giannis will finally get over that hump, and I think they are loaded from top to bottom. I think they're coming out of the East. And in the West, I'm still going to go Clippers, just because I think that Kawhi Leonard and Paul George together just form a massive, two-headed dragon, and then they're loaded from top to bottom too, it seems. They have 2 6-man of the year candidates. Think about that. When was the last time a team had 2 6-man of the year candidates in Montrezl Harrell and Lou Williams? It's just, I don't think it's ever been done, period. And if I have, fact-check me, because I know I've been wrong on multiple broadcasts before in you or I when I've said facts. I'm like, I don't know. But I think it's those two teams. I think they're the best, in and out.
You're not the first person to mention the Clippers on this show here. We've actually had a couple of people, and don't worry about the fact checking stuff. My NBA knowledge as far as 2 6-man of the year award contestants on the same team, no shot in heck that I have it in this database up here. But I'll run with it. I'll run with it. I think, hey, Sam Murray told me that it's never been done before. I think that's enough justification for me.
You're a hockey guy anyways.
Yes,
I get it. And plus the Rangers just got, the top pick in the draft. So, why even bother with the NBA?
Right.
You have it all already made.
Yeah, I was watching the NBA. I was doing my due diligence today, checking out the Jazz and the Nuggets game, which was a blowout. But, we're very excited in Ranger Town. We're excited to have some future success, hopefully. We're crossing our fingers there. Murray, thanks so much for being on. I know you got a tight schedule here. Have to head back to work. Thank you again. Where can the folks find you? Where can the Twitter sphere and the Twitch sphere find you on the social medias?
Well, ever since, the quarantine has, happened, I've been a little less active on social media. But, you can find me around the board on social medias at smurray1212. And I'll spell it out because some people don't know how to spell Murray. It's at SMURRAY1212. You can find me there. Interact with me, call me out, make fun of me, whatever you want. I'm there on social media. I'm there for anything anyone wants to talk about. So feel free to reach out basically on all the social media platforms there.
We got your tag right there on the screen so they can look it up. Type
Perfect.
It right in. So Murray, thank you again, my friend, for coming on the show. I appreciate it. Hope to see you soon. Maybe we hit the link sometime.
Yeah, no, definitely, Jack. Sometime, if you're in the Massachusetts area, and I think Connecticut is a safe state itself. If you want to come by, feel free.
Sounds good, my friend.
Yeah. Ultimately, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it, and I look forward to more Captain Jack shows in the future.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much. We'll see you soon.
All right. Thanks, Jack.